Before I begin, I want you to do something for me if you are watching, reading, or listening to this. Please like, share, and comment, because this story is not just mine. It could be yours, your brothers, your sisters, your friends, or someone close to you who is silently fighting battles too heavy to carry, and I promise you, if you stay with me until the end, you will see that no matter how deep you fall, there is always a way back to solid ground. Because my journey from rock bottom to redemption is living proof of it, and it all started with a drink that seemed so harmless, so ordinary, just one glass after work with friends, laughter bouncing off bar walls, promises of just one more. But that one more turned into a nightly ritual. The ritual became a craving. The craving became a need. And soon alcohol wasn't something I chose. It was something I depended on. And with each sip, I poured a little more of my life down the drain without realizing that the ground beneath me was already giving way. The mornings grew heavier. My hands shook before I could even hold a pen, so I drank in secret to steady them, lying to my boss, my family, and myself, telling everyone I was fine. But behind closed doors, the bottle became my closest friend and my worst enemy, and the man who once walked into the office sharp and confident was slowly replaced by a shadow who missed deadlines, slurred words in meetings, and forgot the very tasks that once made me proud. Until the day came when HR called me in, slid a folder across the table, and in polite but cold words told me my time there was over, and I carried my things in a box past coworkers who looked at me with pity. Shame burning my face, but still I told myself, "It's fine, I'll bounce back. I just need time." Yet the bottle had other plans, because without the routine of work, my days blurred into endless nights. Credit cards maxed out, bills piled high. Phone calls from banks turned into threats, and the day I signed my bankruptcy papers, I felt like I had signed away not just my finances, but my future, my dignity, my place in the world, and the weight of that shame crushed me harder than any debt ever could. But the worst blow was losing my family, because my partner had stood by me longer than she should have, giving me chance after chance, forgiving broken promises, wiping away tears I swore I would never cause again. But one night after another broken vow, after another lie exposed, she looked at me not with anger, but with emptiness, the kind of emptiness that comes when love has been exhausted. And she said, "I can't do this anymore," packing her things with tears streaming down her face while her children clung to her legs, confused, scared, asking why. Daddy was so different, why Daddy wasn't happy anymore, and as the door closed behind them, silence fell heavy in the house. A silence louder than any argument, and I sat alone with the bottle, realizing that everything that mattered had slipped through my fingers. Nights became a torment, because in the quiet darkness the voices came, whispering that I was worthless, that I was a failure, that it would be easier to end it. And more than once, I stared at the edge of the knife, the bottom of the pills, the height of the bridge, wondering if escape was my only option. But something, call it stubbornness, call it God, call it the faint memory of my daughter's laughter, kept me from crossing that line, though I sank deeper each day. Until one night in the pouring rain, I stumbled out of a bar too drunk to stand, collapsing in an alley with my face against the cold pavement, rain soaking through my clothes, vomit burning my throat, my heart begging me to stop. And I thought, this is it. This is how I die, nameless in a gutter. When suddenly I felt a hand on my shoulder, steady, firm, and a voice that cut through the storm, saying, "You don't have to stay here. This doesn't have to be the end of your story." And though I don't remember much of his face, I remember his eyes. They saw me, not the failure, not the drunk, but the broken man beneath. And that stranger picked me up, drove me to rehab, and walked me through the doors I had sworn I would never enter. And though I cursed, begged to leave, swore I didn't belong, somehow I stayed, and in that place of pain I began the hardest fight of my life, the fight to face myself without the bottle. Detox was hell sweats that drenched the sheets, tremors that rattled my bones, vomiting until there Was nothing left nightmares that woke me screaming hallucinations of voices calling my name, but each time I wanted to quit, someone was there, a counselor, a fellow addict, even just a quiet nurse who whispered, "Breathe, it will pass," and slowly, painfully it did. Group therapy was another battle, sitting in a circle of strangers, forced to peel back the lies I had layered around myself, confessing the shame I had carried for years. But when I spoke my truth about the job I lost, the bankruptcy I signed, the family I drove away, expected judgment. But instead I saw nods, tears, hands reaching out because they knew they had been there. And in their eyes I saw a reflection of myself that wasn't hopeless, but human. Days turned to weeks, weeks to months, and with each meeting attended, each temptation resisted, each honest word spoken, I clawed back a little more of my soul, till one morning I looked in the mirror, and for the first time in years I didn't flinch at the man staring back. Saw not a failure, but a fighter. Leaving rehab was terrifying, because the world outside hadn't changed. The bills were still waiting, the debts still due, the family still distant. But I carried with me a determination that hadn't existed before. And I started small, taking odd jobs, cleaning floors, stacking boxes in warehouses, proving to myself that I could still earn, still matter, even if no one applauded, and slowly I paid off debts, saved coins, and rebuilt trust brick by brick. The hardest part was my family, because words meant nothing to them anymore. They had heard "I'm sorry" too many times. So I said nothing. I just showed up, sober at birthdays, steady at school events, patient when they were distant, quiet when they tested me, and little by little, walls began to crack. Until one day, my daughter, who had once avoided my touch, threw her arms around me and whispered, "I'm proud of you, Dad." And that moment was worth more than all the money I had ever lost. With time, I found an old garage for rent and bought a set of secondhand tools, starting a car repair shop with more determination than resources. Fixing engines by day, attending recovery meetings by night, and slowly, that shop grew not just into a business, but into a refuge. Because I began hiring people like me, men fresh out of rehab, women rebuilding from mistakes, ex-prisoners no one would give a chance. And in that shop, we built more than cars. We built lives, we built dignity, we built second chances. Word spread, and soon I was asked to share my story at schools, in churches, at community centers. Standing on stages I never dreamed of standing on, telling people the truth, the drink that ruined me, the alley that almost killed me, the stranger who saved me, the rehab that rebuilt me, the family that forgave me, the shop that gave me purpose, and every time I finished, someone would come to me in tears and say, "Your story saved me." And in those moments, I knew the pain I once cursed had become my greatest gift, because it gave me the power to reach people in a way nothing else could. Slowly, even the woman who had left me began to see not the man I was, but the man I had become, not through promises, but through persistence, through presence, through patience. And one evening, as we sat on the porch watching the sunset, she said quietly, "I see you now." And for the first time in years, I saw hope in her eyes. And though we did not erase the past, we built something new, scarred but stronger, fragile but real, and our children finally saw us laugh together again. The business thrived, expanding to employ dozens each with a story of survival, and our shop became known, not just for fixing cars, but for fixing lives, a place where grease-stained hands and shared laughter became therapy, where broken engines mirrored broken souls, and fixing them became a symbol of healing. Opportunities came I never imagined. Local leaders asked me to speak at town meetings. Newspapers ran stories calling me the mechanic who found redemption. Even national conferences invited me to share my journey, though the spotlight shone bright. I never let it blind me, because I knew too well how fragile sobriety could be. And so I stayed grounded in the same simple routines that had saved me. Gratitude every morning, honesty every day, service every chance I got. Still, life tested me because there were nights when stress whispered that one drink wouldn't tea hurt, when loneliness clawed at my chest, when memories of failure taunted me. But I fought back each time, remembering the faces of my children, the pride in their voices when they said, "That's my dad," the workers in my shop who looked to me for guidance, the strangers who told me my story kept them alive, and I chose to stay standing one day at a time. Years passed, and the man who once lay broken in an alley became the man people turned to for hope. And one night, as I tucked my children into bed, now older, wiser, thriving, my daughter looked at me and asked, "Dad, are you happy now?" And for the first time in decades, I could answer without hesitation, "Yes, I am." Because happiness wasn't in wealth or status, it was in peace, in love, in purpose, in knowing that rock bottom had not destroyed me, but had given me the foundation to rebuild. And so, if you are still with me now, if you have listened through every fall and every rise, I want you to take this with you. No matter where you are, no matter how far you have fallen, no matter how hopeless it feels, your story is not over. Your future is not destroyed, because rock bottom is not where you die. It is where you are reborn, and if you choose to fight to rise to believe, then one day you too will look back at the ruins and see not failure, but the foundation of the life you were always meant to live, standing strong, unshaken on solid ground.